given that most of your people are on here, mine are having some problems either with timing or getting on Zoom. I don't know if you want to do the introduction or...
Yeah, either way. So my name is Kristen. I know a handful of you on here, and Blair and I are co-hosting this with our amazing guest speaker, Jamie Kenzie, tonight. Actually, Blair, go ahead and take over, and then I'll introduce Jamie.
Okay. I just wanted to say hi to everyone, whether you're going to be watching our recording or you're here tonight. I think it's just amazing to see a good group of people who are taking times out of their night, whether that's away from your kids or your family, to really tune in and see how you can start positively impacting the health of your family. So just give yourselves a little pat on the back for being here and being part of the conversation. It's really exciting. I know Kristen's as excited as I am to be sharing this information, and to have Jamie joining us is just a huge blessing. So thanks for taking the time out of your night. And without further ado, I think we'll jump into things.
Yeah, so Jamie Kenzie has become a great friend of mine in the more recent past, and she is not only just an amazing woman with a heart to serve other people, but she has 3 children who are just the light in her eye, and an amazing husband. And her passions, there are many, but she's a yogi, and she's a CrossFitter, so she knows how to stay active and keep calm as possible. And she is a national marketing director with the Juice Plus company, and just has a real the mission statement is to inspire healthy living around the world, and that's what we're here to do, and to teach people about what this is like. So with that, Jamie, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you just start off with your story.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for asking me. It's always an honor, because this is my passion, is to, even if you guys take one thing I shared tonight, it's just a blessing to me that my story, which didn't always feel like a comfortable walk, right, it's been used to bless others. So it was 13 years ago in April that I first heard about Juice Plus. And at that time, I was working full-time as an occupational therapist, and I was not married at that time. I was dating my now husband. I was living away from my hometown, and I always considered myself a health nut. I was a vitamin junkie. I worked out almost every day. I had been a collegiate athlete. I had played soccer in college, and I loved massage therapy. I loved chiropractic. Like, I just always have been a little bit more holistic minded when it came to health. Yet I was confused when it came to nutrition. I thought I was doing really well because I didn't eat fast food and I didn't drink soda, but I still, as a single person, was consuming, like Weight Watchers meals and putting artificial sweetener on my fruit. And, I just didn't really understand. I knew fruits and vegetables were important, but I didn't understand how important they were. Actually, the conversation in my head was, someday when I get pregnant, right, that was going to be my game changer. I'm going to eat so many fruits and vegetables. So I knew that it was important. I've grown to learn how important they truly are. And so doing all of that, being proactive at 25, I was still on 8 prescription medications. And I had been a sick kiddo. I was in the oxygen tent at the age of 1, on inhalers since at the age of 5. I just remember back then, because I had a lot of asthma and allergies, I remember my mama, who, I'm the middle of 5 girls, but having to get up in the middle of the night and take me outside to catch my breath because I'd croup a lot, or putting me into a hot shower with Vicks in the shower to try to get my airways opened up. And back then you didn't bring home the nebulizers, the breathing treatments like you do today. And so that was a lot of, now that I'm a mom, I realize how much stress that was. I mean, nobody likes their own baby to be sick, but how much stress that was on my mom, and to have it affected my sisters, because I had 4 other sisters that she had to pour into, and probably didn't have much in the tank to pour into them after she'd been up most of the night with me. So if I can prevent that in moms, then I've done my job. And so I had a coworker in the therapy field. So my main area of practice was long-term care. So that's another thing. So I'm going almost every day in my 20s to a place most people don't want to end up at the end of their life. And the quality of life for a lot of people at nursing homes, especially the ones that I was really rural Missouri. It wasn't great quality of life. And I saw these people on lists of meds, 20, 30, it was ridiculous. And the quality of life, the more meds they were on, the worse their quality of life was. And I was on 8 at 25. And so that scared me because I worried. I knew I wanted to have a family, and I wondered, how many meds will I be in my lifetime? And what are the contraindications and the side effects? And how will this affect me someday when I start to try to have a family? And I had a coworker who I definitely respected. She was a huge mentor to me in the occupational therapy world. And she's the one who introduced me to Juice Plus. And she said, you should try Juice Plus. And I said, well, what is it? And she said, it's 30 different fruits and vegetables in a capsule. She had been on it for about 2 years. And after a year, got off all her asthma and allergy medicines. So I'd heard of people growing out of those things, but she was in her early 50s. So that was the only thing she had changed in her 50s was Juice Plus, and she was able to get off of them. And so here I'm at 25. I've not grown out of anything. And that was the game changer. So I wanted it. I was definitely open because, like I said, I was a vitamin junkie. And though she didn't know who her distributor was. So she'd been at some booth opportunity, met somebody, got Juice Plus, and kept getting it in the mail. So she didn't, 13 years ago, I wasn't comfortable getting online and putting my credit card information in. So I needed to find a rep. And I think everything happens for a reason. It was in that same time, my sister had given me a call, and she'd been out at a bar one night with one of her girlfriends who was a nurse. And her nurse said to her, Jess, I think you should try Juice Plus. It could help your asthma and your allergies. And so my sister actually called me to make fun of her nurse friend. Brandy's trying to get me on some stuff called Juice Plus. And I said, well, I've heard of it. I think I'm going to get on it. And gratefully, my coworker had given me 2 bottles of hers each to give it a try. And so it was about 1 month of consistently being on Juice Plus that I actually came home, and I had forgotten my inhaler to go running. I had exercise-induced asthma as well. And I played collegiate soccer, so I relied on my inhaler every practice and every game, and every day that I exercised, I had to take that before. And I even tried to get into the Army during college because that's where occupational therapy originated. And I couldn't pass the PT test of running the mile without an inhaler. So here we are, fast forward 2 years. I've been taking Juice Plus for a month. I forget my inhaler. Actually, it might have been, no, it was a month because that's all. No, she gave me 2 months. Okay. So I'd been on it. Anyway, 1 to 2 months, and forgot my inhaler, came home and went running, and was able to run with my little sister the whole time. And that was a huge, like at 25, I didn't have a whole lot to feel different about with these, fruits and vegetables in a capsule. But that was when I knew that it was really doing something in my body. And so I got really excited and started learning more about the research that stood behind it. And got excited about my, starting, kind of my future. So fast forward my health journey. So really healthy 25 on. But then I started to want to have a family. Got married, and then my first baby I had when I was 29 years old. And it was a perfect pregnancy. And so my first 2 are 18 months apart, and then my third came about 3 years after that. So I've had 3 super healthy babies. Do you want me to get really into this, Kristen, or are you gonna get into this later?
First let's just put a pause just for a second. And I'd love to have you kind of explain, like you said, you're a vitamin junkie. Like, how is this, what is Juice Plus, and how is it different from what you were doing? Yeah.
So again, coming from that medical mindset, it really never occurred to me that what I was putting in my body, like the coral calcium and the echinacea and the ester C and the multivitamin, like that should actually have research first and foremost that it was getting in my bloodstream. That would make sense, right? And number 2, research that it was actually physically doing anything good in my body. So what I've learned is that the marketing companies are really great, and they will follow what's trending, and you guys can go into a GNC or a supplement superstore, whatever you have nearby, and you'll see this for hair, and this for skin, and this for, muscles, and this for recovery. And they have something for everything. And honestly, it all boils down to better nutrition helps every process in the body. And there's nothing more foundational to good nutrition than fruits and vegetables. And the research is overwhelming about what fruits and vegetables can do for you. And so when I started so Juice Plus is 30 different fruits, vegetables, and berries in a capsule form. And we do have chewables for the kiddos. And we also have a complete plant-based protein shake mix. And so if you take the plant-based protein shake mix along with the trio of the capsules, you're getting like nutrition from 50 different plants on a daily basis. And it's backed by research. So to date, we have over 35 medical research studies that are gold standard. So we're not just saying we have, let's say, we have apples in our product and apples are proven to do this in your body, therefore our product should do this. That's what you call borrowed research. Our products have actually been studied in the bloodstreams of people. Like they actually draw blood and are in a whole like medical environment and go through a placebo control. It's really the best of the best when it comes to research. So 35 to date. By the end of the year, we should have about 40 different studies. And these girls can kind of go through with you later what the actual research shows, because there's about 11 different significant impacts that Juice Plus can have for you. So the story that I shared with my journey so far has already kind of told you about my asthma and my allergies. And what that tells me is, when I look back at the research, is that Juice Plus is shown to help to balance the immune system, and allergies are an autoimmune response. And Juice Plus is also shown to decrease systemic inflammation. So when I'm having allergies, there's an inflammatory response. And when I'm having asthma, again, that's an inflammatory response in the lungs. So if you can lessen the inflammation and if you can help to support the immune system, you're going to have less symptoms. You're going to have less, exacerbations. And so that's how I've been able to, my body's been able to heal over the last 13 years. So I'm way healthier today at 38 than I ever was at 25. Does that help with the product? Do you want me to go more in depth? I love this quote, Kristen, you might not even know it, that we're the largest grower of kale. Juice Plus is the largest grower of kale in the United States. I think that's so cool. I want to make a t-shirt that says kale, and then on the back, you're welcome. And and we're the second largest grower of Concord grapes in the world, next to Welch's. So that's really cool to know that we're, our produce is grown on third generation farms. They follow organic farming practices. Our fruits and vegetables are unique because they are vine ripened. So what you see at your shelves are picked a lot of times before they're actually ready to be picked, which is when most of the nutrition gets into the plant. And I kind of, because we're kind of on this mother kick tonight, I equate it similar to a baby, right? You want your baby to be as full term as possible. You want them to be, 40 weeks because of lung development. I kind of teased that my babies were all vine ripened because they all were in me till 41 or 42 weeks. But I hope, does that help?
I love that. I've never heard that analogy before, but that's a great way to think about, the quality of fruit and vegetable that actually is going in there and the medical study behind it. So I'd love for there just to kind of jump into how you use Juice Plus, as your prenatal and as you delivered. And
so I had already been kind of exposed to a lot of the Juice Plus world when I got pregnant. And there had been a study at the University of Mississippi on Juice Plus and pregnancy. They'd done a preliminary study where they had 200 women that they put on Juice Plus, and those women, at the end of they got put on Juice Plus in their first trimester, and then at the end of the study, what they were finding is that these women didn't have, any preeclampsia, no gestational diabetes, not one baby spent a day in the NICU, and that was very unique because at the University of Mississippi, it's a lot of lower income women that they were seeing, which they also had a lot more higher risk pregnancies. And so it was profound enough that they did a full-blown study of Juice Plus in women taking Juice Plus, which is huge because the ethics board, in order to get a product put in a pregnant woman, you have to understand it's so stringent. You can't put pharmaceuticals in pregnant women. I mean, pretty much everything says do not take if you're pregnant or breastfeeding. And so for us to be able to even pass that safety test was huge. So how I took it as my prenatal, the first time I got pregnant, I remember my doctor giving me it was 9 different boxes of prenatals. And he said, try these and just let me know which one, doesn't upset you, which one you like best or whatever. And so I looked at the back of those boxes and I called the 800 number of each and every one. And interestingly, some of them ended up being from the same company. And I don't understand, if you have a quality product, why do you have several variations of it? Why don't you just have one really great product? But anyway, all I asked the people on the other end, and if you're newly pregnant, I encourage you to do this, but I just said, do you just have research showing me that your prenatals just even getting in my bloodstream? And not one single prenatal had any research that it was getting. There's no research on prenatals. It's just kind of the standard of care. It's just what they've always done, and it's knowing that women need extra nutrition during their pregnancy, and has always been the way to help to bridge that gap. And so I just knew better. And I talked with Dr. Doug Odom, who'd done the study at the University of Mississippi. And so I relied solely on Juice Plus for all 3 of my pregnancies. But I upped my dose. So when I found out I was pregnant, I took 3 fruit, 3 vegetables, 3 vineyard. And then when I got to 30 weeks, I upped it to 4, 4, and 4 of each of the Juice Plus capsules. And then I stayed on 4, 4, and 4 through breastfeeding up until about the baby was 6 months. So when I started introducing foods to my kiddos, then I would open up a capsule, like half a capsule, into their baby rice or their baby oatmeal or whatever it was. And so my kids have so mommy and daddy both were on Juice Plus, so we conceived our kids with Juice Plus. And that's super important too, because for women, like, we've had these eggs since we were born, but for men, you guys produce sperm, every time. So that's brand new. And so it's important for the men to have this nutrition into their bodies as well as you're trying to create a healthy baby. So in addition to the Juice Plus, the only things that I took in addition are an omega, to get the healthy fats for brain development. And then I took a vitamin D3.
Awesome. And I know that you were fortunate to not have any complications with your pregnancies or any miscarriages, but there are a lot of women out there who do struggle with even conceiving or being able to carry babies full term. And would you feel comfortable maybe sharing, because we work with so many women who have had a shift in that, would you feel comfortable sharing a few testimonials around that?
So my sponsor is Brandy Foss. She was the nurse. And her story is that her first baby, she always says that, she says, I was killing my baby, because as a nurse, she didn't really understand nutrition. She understood medicine, and she was eating fast food 1 to 2 times a day her entire pregnancy. And so Kaylee was born preterm, and then Brandy ended up with postpartum depression. And that's actually when Juice Plus walked into her life. Her girlfriend said, I think I found something that could help your postpartum depression. And so I believe, and I'm trying to think if it was Kaylee or if it was Mariah, I think it was Kaylee. So to even get pregnant that first time, Brandy had to go through fertility treatments, because I believe she had, I don't remember if she had endometriosis or PCOS, but some form where she needed injections. And actually the girl who shared Juice Plus with her was the girl who was giving her injections. And then my girlfriend, let me go to Brandy's story. So that was Kaylee. Kaylee just graduated 8th grade. And Brandy's had 3 babies since that. So she has 4 girls, and her pregnancies got healthier and healthier. The longer she's been on Juice Plus, her pregnancies have just gotten better and better and better. And she honestly says, without Juice Plus, she's like, I don't know that I would have 4 kids today, because her pregnancy was so bad with Kaylee. And it was such hard work. And then my girlfriend Anita was a physical therapist that I worked with. And she's one of those friends where she was struggling to get pregnant. They did injections. They did, what do you call that? In vitro. And so it took so much for her first baby to get pregnant. And she has PCOS, and she took Juice Plus, and that helped as well, because they had struggled several times with the fertility treatments, and then she got pregnant. But then, she thought that was probably it, and that, and it helps, like, no stress, right? You had that baby, you achieved that miracle that you were wanting. But Anita continues to get healthier, and Juice Plus decreases inflammation, right? So if you've got any of those kind of endometrial issues, and you can decrease the inflammation, it's reason that you have more hope for those outcomes. But Anita ended up pregnant unexpectedly with Leo, so her second baby again. So just complete surprise, where the first one was so hard, but the second one was like super simple. She never saw it coming. So I think there's room for all spectrums of where you are. I think reducing your stress is one of the biggest keys to getting pregnant, because it's a miserable cycle that you get in. Like, you're hopeful for that month, and then that your period comes and then you just get completely deflated, and it's so emotionally devastating, and you have to wait this whole window of time. And so, yeah, if you can find some way to get out of that mind space and just let go a little bit, it definitely can help.
That's great. And so, yeah, I guess as we just kind of like walk through the circle of life, if you will. So you kind of shared about when you were breastfeeding, you were using it, and how you decreased as you started actually, then your child was eating and putting some of the plant powders into their food. We have a program called Children's Health Study, and I'd love for you just to kind of explain that and share what it's done for your family and some of the women or the families around you.
Yeah, well, first and foremost too, with breastfeeding, like these complete shakes are like a huge lifesaver. That's something I gift a lot of my customers who are pregnant, or even people who are just in my sphere of influence. When they become pregnant, I'm like, I gift them a blender bottle and shakes, because especially as a first-time mom, and if you're nursing, like you just feel like a cow, like you can't go anywhere. Like it's your job to feed that baby. And so it's just really nice to be able to get so much nutrition in something that you could get a quick pour of almond milk or whatever and put your powder in and shake it up, and there you go. And I've had a lot of women who, as their supply has started to decrease, to double up their shakes. Plus, actually, you're getting more liquid in that way as well. But then their supply seems to be supported better and come back stronger when they do that. So that's a huge tip. As far as then the Children's Health Study, so any child between the ages of 4 to undergraduate college student with a sponsoring adult, so an adult has to be 18 or older. So it doesn't have to be your kid. It could be your niece or your nephew or your friend's kid, but any adult can sponsor a child, and that child gets Juice Plus. They get that Juice Plus covered for a year up to 4 years. And I used to say they get it free for a year up to 4 years, but I kind of changed that, because it's really not free, because the person who is helping you to get Juice Plus actually is donating in money, and then some of their support system above them is also chipping in to help your child to get Juice Plus for free. So the child's product can be offset for a year up to 4 years. And that's a really huge blessing. So my kiddos, some of the changes, again, like they were conceived with Juice Plus. So we haven't really seen changes. We definitely handle our health with food. So if it's not that my kids don't ever get sick, and we're definitely more drastic today with what we eat, probably for sure than I was when I was 25. But I feel like we've gotten more knowledge and made more changes after each kid. And so, again, not that we're purists, but they rarely get sick. If they get sick, it lasts a day, and it's so minor compared to everything that's going around in school. I was so bummed this year. My daughter was in first grade, and last year in kindergarten, she got perfect attendance. But this year she didn't get it because she one day didn't want to eat her eggs for breakfast and gagged on them and threw up, and then I couldn't send her to school. So I was so devastated, but they just gave that award out yesterday and she didn't get it, but it's okay. But around me, I would tell you a lot of the stories with the kiddos have to do with, asthma and allergies. That's a really big one. Eczema, skin issues. The Children's Health Study, we've seen big differences with that. Energy levels, better sleeping habits, which then results in better outcomes in school because they're able to pay attention better and stay focused better. They start eating more fruits and vegetables because of it's just called metabolic reprogramming. So if kids are used to eating junk, and some kids get in this little box that they only eat a few things, and as parents, we need to really, it's not always comfortable. We have to really get good at stretching them a little bit and kind of being firm with that, because their nutrition really is what's going to set them up for success in the future. And so when they get the Juice Plus, which could be the start of it, then you're getting the good nutrition in the cells, and the cells start to crave what it is that you're finally giving them, which is, the nutrition that their cells have been really waiting for. And so it's cool to see a child's palate change over the life of being on Juice Plus. So the gummies are an option. Some kids, if they're like sensory issue kids, they like them actually in the refrigerator or the freezer because it firms them up a little bit more, and it's a little bit more like what they call proprioceptive. They have to chew a little bit longer and harder to eat the gummy, and they like that. And sometimes it's cold. That's a sensory thing that they like. Another strategy to get it in your kiddos is, again, you could have the shakes and you can open up a capsule and they've never even known that you've given them, the plant powder. So that's another great trick. And then you could even make popsicles out of the shake mix as well. And you could put the powders in there and then they're getting a sweet treat and they have no idea. So yeah, the longer the kids are on Juice Plus, the more fruits and vegetables that they'll eat. And I think as a family, like, they need to see you making these health changes. So I really always recommend to a family, not that just the child's going to start this, this change, but that the whole family is embracing it, because when they see you doing it, it's going to be more normal for them to do it as well.
It's great. I love these mom tips. I've never heard of the popsicles and things, but I think it's amazing. Like, myself as an adult, my palate changing and seeing like my sweet tooth go away and seeing these fruits and vegetables that I crave really pick up. So the fact that you can like trick your child into consuming more fruits and vegetables and them actually then changing to enjoy it is pretty amazing. So I just kind of to wrap things up here, because I know some people are like, I want to be at home with my children more. I'm trying to figure out how to be a present mother. I would love for you just to share about like that transition from being OT and being something that you really were passionate about to being able to be at home with your 3 babies.
So that was like always I was trying to figure that out in my 20s, even before I was married. Like, my mom stayed home with all 5 of us until we were in school, and then she was a teacher. And again, like, you can reflect on your own, how you were parented, but like, I think that's why the drive was so strong in me, is because my mom was home with us, right? And then she was a teacher. So I got to see her home nights, home weekends, home holidays, home during the summer. And so when I got into the real world of occupational therapy, I'm like, ooh, like, this isn't what I signed up for. Like, I had to work holidays, I had to work late, I had to work weekends, I had to work during the summers. Like, it was just really uncomfortable in me. And some people may love that. It just wasn't something I really loved. And so I always knew I wanted to have kids and I wanted to be more of a present parent. I thought I completely wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And then this business walked into my life, and it was a really perfect fit with occupational therapy, because for those of you who don't know, occupational therapy is really like when people lose function, or maybe they weren't born with the full function, our goal is to get them to function. And so we can do rehabilitation to try to get them there, or we can use adaptive techniques to try to make them as independent as possible. So when it comes to nutrition, if we're supposed to be eating, 9 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis, and we're not, we could definitely, give people tips and tricks and teach them to sneak it in foods and to grow their own and all of that. But we still know that the compliance number is low. So Juice Plus bridges that gap. But like we've already mentioned, it bridges it for a season, and then you actually start eating more fruits and vegetables as well, which is really cool. So as an OT, it fit in perfectly. But what was challenging for me was just going from always seeing kind of the corporate America mindset, being employed by somebody. I really didn't have a lot of entrepreneurs in my life. So I was learning about this business, and it fit perfectly with what it is that I already do. And I saw it as a way to create a passive income to maybe be more of that present parent that I wanted. And so that's what I kept focus on. I mean, that really was my first and major goal that I worked on, was to be able to stay home. And so I slowly was building this. So it took me 10 years to get to national marketing director. We didn't have social media at that time. It can go way faster today with social media, because you can just make yourself more visible. And as a parent, you can make yourself visible. I mean, all your other mama friends are on at 8 o'clock once their kids are in bed, right? So you can be inspiring at 8 o'clock at night. But as my business built, and I felt, again, like it was a little slower for me, that I was able to go from being a full-time occupational therapist to part-time with my first baby, and then part-time to PRN with my second, and then I was able to completely retire after my third. So my business was slowly building, and then once I had that third baby, I think that mind space of being focusing on that area of my life, once that was finished, I was so ready to get to national marketing director, is when my business really exploded, and when I really learned how to use social media. So it's been a huge blessing because now too, my husband is able to work from home most days at this point, but our goal by the end of this year is to be able to completely retire him from his career. And not saying that most men want to do that, they may not. It took my husband a really long time to come around to even thinking that was possible, because he saw me struggle at the beginning, because you're going to get no's and you're going to get in your own headspace, and you're going to hear something that you don't really understand that somebody said, and you're going to have to doubt the company and doubt the product, and you're going to have to ask the questions to get the answers you need and come back around. But this is legit. It's the real deal. Network marketing is a really viable way to create an income, and network marketing is heavily women. So it's been really empowering to see women be able, so many women on my team have been able to cut back. Not a lot, some have retired from their jobs, but so many of them have cut back the number of hours that they were once spending at their job, and able to be more present parents with their kiddos. And that's a huge blessing. So really we say we're keeping families intact, because if you can keep them healthy, and then you also then get to, one of my girlfriends says the way a child spells love is Time. So when you can get that time back with your kiddos, it's huge. It's huge.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, thank you, Jamie. And I just kind of want to open up the line for anyone who has specific questions. I know we're kind of pushing that 30-minute marker, but just to give anyone the opportunity, if you just unmute yourself in the lower left-hand corner there.
Yep.
Don't be bashful.
Nobody? We're good? Okay.
Crystal?
I do. I love it. I would love to do it because I do like 2 different jobs and everything, but they're both part-time, and I'm all into health and like on the key of every breaking new thing, not new thing, but just what we haven't known with foods and how effective they are in our health and our longevity and for our kids and everything else. How effective is it? Like, how effective is it to sell it? That's my hard part, because I'm not completely social. So that would be my thing, is like, how do I incorporate the business part of it?
Yeah.
With
I would say, first of all, the best people who, the most successful people at sharing it are people who've had an experience with it, that you have an experience that you can share. And it may not have to be like me getting off 8 prescription meds, but your story is still, there are people out there. There are billions of people in this world, right? And there are people who are looking to hear your story. And so for me, I would consider myself a little bit more of an introvert as well. And so at the beginning, my sponsors asked me to do these events, and I so uncomfortably did them. I invited, and I would get nobody who came to show up, but it was probably a lot of my energy around that, because I didn't really like that kind of thing. And where I live, there was tons of kind of those at-home party things, and I didn't love them, and so it was hard for me to host those. So my success has always been kind of more one-on-one, these kind of avenues where you could plug somebody into the stories that are being told. And as your story's building, you get to borrow the stories of other people. But I encourage you, how do you do it? You learn, right? Because you have to build your confidence in the product, in the company, in the industry, and then in yourself, most importantly. But then they're just being vulnerable, being willing to tell your story on a social media platform, and not in big, long text all the time, but just, so grateful that I don't have to get up in the middle of the night anymore with my kiddo who's been suffering asthma and allergies or whatever. What is your story, Crystal? Have you been taking Juice Plus?
No. When I first met my husband, he took it, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're getting your vegetables through capsules. Like, what are you doing? And it was just funny, because I didn't realize, I knew it had a lot, but I was like, oh, you're kind of cheating. I was like, you need to be eating your vegetables. And it's just funny. So then Blair was telling me about this, and then it's just like a couple different people just all clicked in my life all of a sudden. And I'm like, realizing that I'm not even getting the rainbow of vegetables that I need. And it is hard to incorporate as much as we're supposed to be getting into our diets. And then I know just a couple of people just in my life that are Juice Plus, like I guess distributors. So I was like, well, yeah, I want to know more. Like I would love to be on the other side of it where I get to help people. My sister has PCOS.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, you can just like fix things through your diet. It's so amazing. I was never a healthy person growing up. Though I was always on the, chubby side, but I'm completely opposite that now. So it's amazing to see what it does.
Right. Yeah. So you have a huge story. And, my girlfriend, so Brandy, she just said to my sister, right, I found something I think that could help your asthma and your allergies, to my sister. And so you could keep it that simple for some of your some of your demographic. Hey, I think I found something that could help you, or X, Y, or Z. Like, would you be interested or open to checking it out? I've always been really passive and tried not to have an expectation of the outcome. Because my family, honestly, I have 2 sisters that take Juice Plus and my mom and dad, but I've got a really big extended family and none of them take Juice Plus. 2 of my sisters have never given me the time of day in 13 years, and it sucks and it hurts. And, but I got to move on past that, because I know the coworker who had a baby with cancer that, she finally spent her first birthday. She turned 5 years old. It was her first birthday not having been in the hospital. Like, she stopped chemo 6 months early. Her immune markers were higher than they'd ever been in 4 days of taking the gummies. Like, those stories, like, I'm willing to take the rejection of my sisters because I know what I just helped that mama with a baby with cancer do, so I think that you have a huge platform that you can share from, and we just kind of have to be willing to acknowledge people really who don't grasp it yet, and just keep being that light. I think the more consistent we stay, then a lot of those people come back around. I mean, sometimes it's months later, but I've had people come around years later who finally ordered Juice Plus because I've never wavered. Like you said, that there's a lot of things that come and they're new and they're up and coming. Like, fruits and vegetables are like the original fast food, right? Like, they're the original fad. So starting with Adam and Eve, right? So it's such a simple message. It makes so much sense for people. Oh yeah, I know I need to eat fruits and vegetables. And like you said, your message to them could just be, I just finally realized I wasn't getting a rainbow every day, and now I didn't feel good about that. Are you getting 9 to 13 every day? Are you getting the full color spectrum? And most people aren't. They eat a very narrow, grouping of plants.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else? I know we're kind of running low on time. If you think of a question, feel free to shoot a message to whoever invited you. And I always just like to say, there's 3 things that you can do with this. You can just take it for what it is and learn. The second thing you can do is, if you're interested in trying this for yourself or for your children or your family or someone we can totally help set you up, and would love to be your coach and teach you how that works. And the third option is, if you want to have a story and be able to share with other people and make a side income, or you can go as small time or as part time or as full time as you want with this, and there's no pressure around any of those 3 things, but I always like to put the option out there. So again, thank you, Jamie, so much for your time this evening and those just incredible information, things I glean from all the time. So have a wonderful night, everyone. And just shoot us a message if you have more questions or interest.